All right, listener, are you ready for a deep dive into a world I bet you've never even thought about?
Oh, I love a good mystery. What are we diving into today?
Today, we are talking about the surprisingly complex and fascinating world of wood drying kiln operators.
Now that you mention it,
I know, right?
I've always wondered about that.
Yeah.
What do those folks actually do all day?
Well, lucky for us, we got a ton of info on it. Stacks of articles, guides, even interview tips landed on my desk for this one.
Oh, wow. Someone must be really curious about me.
I know, right? So, to kick things off, let's get the basics down. What exactly does a wood drying kiln operator do?
Okay, so picture this.
Oh,
You've got a
yeah.
whole bunch of freshly chopped trees.
Fresh from the forest.
Right. Still damp, practically dripping with sap, what they call green wood.
In wood.
Yep. And a kiln operator's job is to transform that unusable lumber into the sturdy, dry wood we use for, well, almost everything.
So they're basically like lumber magicians,
Yeah.
taking those soggy logs and turning them into like the walls of our homes and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the kiln comes in. Think of it like a giant high-tech sauna, but for lumber.
A sauna for lumber. Okay, kind of love that.
They use this precise combination of heat and ventilation, finding that sweet spot to dry it out perfectly without warping or cracking.
Oh, so it's all about finding that perfect balance, like a delicate dance between too much heat and not enough.
Exactly. The RoleCatcher career guide we have here really emphasizes that. One wrong move, and bam, you're explaining to your boss why a stack of planks look like they belong in a funhouse.
Oh man, I can only imagine. Speaking of messing up, this whole moisture level thing seems like where things could get really tricky. What did the guide say about that?
Oh, it's crucial. Different wood species, they all have their own quirks when it comes to drying. And get this, even the time of year a tree was harvested can affect its moisture content.
Whoa, seriously. So it's not like just tossing any old log into the kiln. There's like a whole science to this.
You got it. Too much moisture, you risk warping or rot. Too little, and the wood becomes brittle. It's all about hitting that sweet spot.
That's wild. I had no idea there was so much precision involved in drying wood. It's like I knew it needed to be dried, but I never considered how much goes into every piece of lumber we see. It reminds me of something. It's like a baker knowing exactly when a cake is perfectly done, not a minute over or under to get that perfect texture and rise.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
And just like baking, it requires a keen eye, careful monitoring, and a real understanding of the science behind it.
Yeah.
Now that you've mentioned it, there's actually a surprising amount of crossover between culinary arts and wood drying.
That's so cool. Okay, so say someone listening is now totally hooked, right? They're picturing themselves surrounded by these giant lumber saunas ready to become a kiln master. What's their path look like? Is there like a wood drying kiln university they can enroll in?
A wood drying kiln university.
Yeah, like Kiln Operation 101.
Laps. I wish it were that simple. No, all the guides we have emphasize that experience is key here.
Really? So no fancy degree required?
Nope. We're talking apprenticeships, starting as a junior operator, learning from the ground up, getting your hands dirty.
I like it. It's like those old school trades you learn by doing. But what about those who want to move up the ladder? What does that look like?
Well, you start as a junior operator, assisting, monitoring those moisture levels, and as you gain experience, you move up the ranks. Senior operator, maybe even leading your own team someday.
Okay, so there's definitely room for growth. You could start as the rookie and end up managing a whole team of kiln operators. What about the folks who want to branch out even more? Can you top out as a kiln operator, or are there ways to move around within, like, the whole wood industry in general?
Oh, absolutely. Some kiln operators even move into management roles, overseeing entire wood processing operations.
Wow, so this seemingly niche skill set can actually open some surprising doors. That's awesome. Speaking of opening doors, our listener mailbag is overflowing with questions about becoming a kiln operator, and you know what they all want to know.
How to work those giant lumber saunas, of course.
Labs. Well, yeah, eventually. But first, how to ace the job interview. And luckily for them, our stack of resources has that covered. So what are those potential employers really looking for?
Well, some questions are straightforward, like describe your experience with drying kilns, that sort of thing. But it's not just about reciting facts.
It's all about that passion we talked about earlier, right? You got to show them you live and breathe wood.
Exactly. They want to see that spark. The guide actually shared a story about one applicant who wowed the interviewers by talking about the cellular structure of different wood species.
Okay, so passion is key. Got it. But what about those curveball questions? The ones that really separate the rookies from the kiln masters? What did our guide say about those?
Oh, they want to see you think on your feet. One example was, Describe a time you had to troubleshoot a problem with a kiln.
Right, because even with the best tech, something's bound to go wrong.
Exactly. They need to know you can handle it.
Speaking of tech, we talked about automation earlier. Is that something that comes up in these interviews? Is the future of wood drying all robots?
It's a hot topic for sure.
Yeah.
Some folks might be intimidated, but I see it as an opportunity.
Oh, how so?
Well, the guide highlighted how those who embrace new tech will have an advantage.
So it's less robots versus humans and more like working together?
Exactly. Imagine being a kiln optimizer, using data to fine-tune the process.
Oh, okay, getting kind of sci-fi now, but I like it.
It's about staying curious, adapting to the industry.
This deep dive has been full of surprises. I came in thinking we were talking lumber, but I feel like I've glimpsed the future of wood itself.
It's pretty amazing stuff.
So as we wrap up, one final thought for our listeners. If you can design the wood drying kiln of the future, what would it be like?
Ooh, good one. You'd have to honor tradition, but be innovative. Maybe use renewable energy, minimize waste.
I love it. Well, there you have it. We went from what does a kiln operator do to a wild ride through the past, present, and future of wood.
Who knew drying lumber could be so interesting?
Right. It just goes to show every career has hidden depths. You just got to be willing to take the deep dive. Until next time, happy exploring.